Hey y'all, Daniel Aaron here, your guide to vibrant living coach, teacher, and writer. Excited about my new book coming out very soon. I'll tell you more about that another time. And welcome to some fun, some interesting stuff. And first of all, though, I'll just give you a little update. And it's kind of like one of the ways I see astrology is it's like a weather report. And this weather report, by the way, side note, I have heard, I'm not actually on Facebook myself very often, though I have heard that Facebook automatically puts the video up and starts it playing. And if so, I'm sorry, I don't want to force myself upon you. So if you're interested, though, if you're digging what I'm sharing about, then thank you. Like it and put comments, questions. I'd love to hear from you, whether it's live now or you're watching the replay. Love to connect and support you in your process, especially around the complaint-free challenge, which we'll get to. Stepping back, though, astrology is to me a little bit like a weather report. In this particular form of astrology, as in like what's happening now, known as transits, as opposed to how are the planets right now affecting our own natal chart, the imprint from our birth. What's happening now, the transits are powerful time, right? Some of you know we just clicked into Mercury retrograde a couple days ago. Short version, 3-week period where the things symbolized by Mercury, which is communication, connections, tend to be a little bit slowed down or a little bit crossed sometimes, wires a little bit crossed. My favorite symbol for that is two folks going to meet each other at the train station. One starts at this end, one starts at this end. They walk toward each other, and because it's crowded and they don't see each other, they pass right in the middle, and they get to the other end. They're like, hey, where is he? Where is she? Then say, well, I don't know, I better look again. They walk back, and then the same thing happens again. So it's kind of like, ooh, we're almost there, don't quite click, which does not mean ignore your life or don't do things or stay in the house. It means, and this is what astrology is really useful for, is be aware of these tendencies, and so that you can take measures, you can act in accordance. Just like if you knew it was likely to be a snowstorm, not many of those on Maui, but if you knew there was likely to be a snowstorm, well, you might want to, prepare yourself with the appropriate gear, get the chains out for your car. A little nod to my friends in the cold weather climates. Now, so Mercury just went retrograde a couple days ago, and we are blooming into a full moon on Thursday evening, a couple days from now. And it's a great cool full moon, in part because as the moon is opposite to the sun, which is sort of like consciousness and unconsciousness able to see each other, masculine and feminine, father and mother able to see each other more clearly, which tends to bring things up a bit, giving us opportunity to do something with them. Full moons represent kind of a culmination of cycles in some way. Birth logs or maternity wards have more action. Police logs do also. We know how it affects the tides. Well, that's happening this full moon, sun, moon. The sun is also connected to Jupiter, the planet of growth and expansion and opportunity, luck. So that's pretty cool. It means that there is a lucky, social, fun, expansive, learning sort of vibe to the high energy that's building up. And for those of us here in North America, well appropriate for Thanksgiving. And at the same time, Mercury going retrograde, in some way inviting us to look within, is just square to Neptune, which means that communications can be a little extra vague or ethereal or misty, which could also mean mystical, which means there's a sort of a spiritual element to the vibe of it happening right now, together with, last little tidbit I'll toss to you right now, as we get this full moon, Mercury, mystical, Neptune action going on. We've also got Uranus and Neptune, more actually like this, Uranus and Venus opposite each other, and Uranus is the trickster, the rebel, the thing, the energy that says shake it up, break out of routines, do something in a new way. Have you gotten stuck? Has it been a rut? Time to move. Venus is the planet of love, sweetness, harmony, creativity, sensuality. And when they are at a opposing angle like that, part of what it means is we may get some spiciness happening in our love lives. We may get a little kick in the pants that says, hey, wait, I got stuck a little bit, or I've been ignoring something. So it's a great time to listen to, not necessarily bluntly communicate upon, but listen to a little feeling inside, or a big one that might be saying, I gotta do something, or I gotta shake something up. And it could be a time when there is a little extra juju or spice or joy or opportunity or interest in the love air this full moon, which is really now through Saturday, say that's kind of the pinnacle point of the full moon. Now, feel free to fire away with any questions on that. And I'm recording this one on my phone. I'm still learning the new technology, the progression of Facebook Live technology. And unfortunately here I don't see any comments. So if you are commenting, I'm not getting them yet. I promise I'll come back to them soon. And complaint-free challenge. Some of you I know are on it, in it. Awesome. Me, check it out. I'm on day 2. Back to day 2. I think I got up to day 6 a few days ago. How did I get back to day 2? Yesterday morning, driving in the car with my daughter to school, attempting to call into my friend's teleseminar. It was busy like 8 times in a row, and then one time I thought it was going through, and then it turned to busy, and I said, really? And that's it, an energetic expression out loud of pain. Really? Painful. And it was great. My daughter and I had a good laugh at it. I said to her, was that a complaint? She said, yeah. On the flip side, though, one of the gifts, and there are so many, this is part of why I encourage you to go for it and keep going and celebrate those moments when you say, oh, I just complained, right? I got closer to my goal. And what's the goal? It's not really 21 days in a row without complaining out loud. And yes, that's a good goal. The bigger goal, though, is freedom, liberation, moksha, samadhi. Feeling happy, our birthright. Feeling, in my language, vibrantly alive. Now, on the weekend, my daughter and I went with some friends to a sort of a Maui outdoor version of a food court. And it's this little spot where there are a bunch of like food trucks kind of thing. And it was my first time there, very exciting, hanging out. And we go up to the burger place, and my daughter and I, vegetarian, we order a couple of veggie burgers. And it's like, I never get fried food, but I'm like, we're getting some French fries, we're going to go for it. And then we sit down with our friends, and we're talking and hanging out, great time. You know, like half an hour goes by, no problem, we're just having fun. You know, the guys working up there quite busy. And then my friend's order comes out, and so my daughter and I are waiting a little bit, eating some of their fries. We got more coming, and then we get the signal and our food's up there, so I go up to get it, and the guy says, "Oh, sorry, we only had one veggie burger." So I recognize in me my impulse to complain, like, well, we're both hungry and we've been waiting for half an hour, come on. Right, that was my impulse. And so, in the process, happily, I caught myself ahead of time and I said, okay, would have been good to know that ahead of time, because we might have ordered something else or gone somewhere else, but, that's past now. Which, by the way, was that a complaint, what I just said? It could have been. It was not, in my opinion. Because it wasn't, oh, well, we could have known, it didn't have the energetic quality. It was like, oh, and I meant it for him as, I'm like, that might be good to tell someone sooner than later. So then he was great about it. He said, I'm really sorry, and I can give you a refund, or I can make you something else. I got plenty of beef burgers. So, it doesn't really help us because we don't eat meat. So I'm thinking, I'm like, you know what, just, yeah, you can give us a refund for it. We'll just split it, and we'll make two. So he's like, okay. And then I could see he's really stressed out. So I said to him, and you know what, I can see you're slammed right now, so just go ahead and give that to us, and then you can take care of the refund whenever you get caught up. That's all right. So I go out there and bring the food. And my daughter's a little upset about it. Yeah, that's all right. 3/4 free. And then we eat our meal, and I kind of forgot about it. And we're having fun with our friends. Ate a lot more fries probably than I would have otherwise. And then maybe another half an hour goes by, and the guy comes out, and he has he has money, and he gives me the refund, but he gives me the refund for the entire meal, which is over the top. We only deserve a refund for the actual burger. So I'm kind of looking at that, and then he has this huge order of onion rings too. He's like, "I'm really sorry. I hope this can make up for it a little bit." And I was just so impressed, like, and he's an employee. I had talked to him a little bit earlier. It's not his place. And that's the kind of initiative and caring that is rare in an employee. And having been a business owner with a staff, I was like, wow, that's notable. That's like caring and high quality service, good business. Like, and so I had a little more chat with him, and I was like, wow, that's great. And then he left, and we continued eating, including some onion rings, talking with our friends. And I said to them, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to find out who his boss is and give a good report. Because, I remember when I was a kid, my mother, bless her, if ever she thought she didn't get the right service or something was fair, she would pick up the phone and in her language, give them hell. And she would just terrorize and ask for managers and complain, and it was like, ah. And I remember just like, even I didn't want to be in the room with that energy. So I kind of took that on too. For some years I was like that, and then it hit me like, well, you know what? It doesn't feel good. And not only that, it never works. It never helps the situation. So what I created for myself is I resolved that if ever, and I will, if something's not right, I'll stand up and say, hey, wait, this isn't right, and let's find a solution. And I resolved that at least as many times as I do that, I will make sure I tell a supervisor what a great job somebody did. And I've done this so many times, and y'all, it's one of the best practices I've ever picked up. Many times it takes almost no time. Like, somebody gives good service, they're caring, they're friendly, whatever it is. I say to them afterwards, hey, I would like to report your great service to your supervisor. Would you give me their phone number or their email address? And the people are invariably, touched by that alone, and give it to me. And sometimes I call up and I just leave a voicemail or a quick call or something. It takes me like a minute or two, and it's such a great feeling in me. The supervisors are always like, wow, thank you. Most people call to complain. So I was kind of thinking about all of this, and my friend said, yeah, the people that own that food truck, actually, they go, they're parents at the same school as us too. And so we were talking about that, and meanwhile, we're talking about that. Then the guy comes back up again, right? The guy who gave me the refund, and he has a styrofoam container full of like veggies and salad stuff. And he said, I realized afterwards that, you guys are vegetarian, and this is the closest thing we have to a salad, so I want to give that to you too. And I was just like, my goodness, this guy is over the top. Wow. And thank you. You didn't need to. Thank you. So we go on. Another half an hour passes. We're having a good time. Coming to the last part of the story here, by the way. And so then I decide, you know what? Let's make this a little bit more fun. Because then my friends look over and they're like, oh, you know what? His boss is here now. That's them. I recognize them and they're here. So okay, watch this. So I walk over. We're getting ready to leave, and I walk over to the food truck, and I see the woman who's the owner, and I say to her, excuse me, are you the are you the owner of this place? And she looks at me and says, yeah. So I say, look, I want to tell you then, we just had a really horrible experience here. And I was setting her up, right? But then she looks at me, and just immediately, empathetic woman, she looks at me immediately and says, oh, I'm so sorry, what happened? And before I could even say the second part, which was, and then it was made much better by the actions of this man, your employee over here. And so then I explained to her, yeah, no, it wasn't horrible, I exaggerate, I was just trying to set you up for this. It was really not that big a deal. We ordered something and you didn't have it, and we didn't realize it until later. And the main thing though is your guy here, he he really just did an extraordinary thing in his kindness and his way of taking care of it. And I want you to know, as an owner, that's a pretty cool thing, because I know, good help is hard to find. Someone that takes that kind of, I've told you that part. And even better, the pinnacle of this was he was standing there and heard me talk about all of it. And priceless too was when I walked up and I started talking to her and I said we had the horrible experience. The look on his face was like, oh no. So then we all had a good laugh about it, and the woman was there and her husband was there, and they're like, oh, let us give you a refund. No, he already did, it's okay. And she's like, well, what can we do? We want to give you a free meal. I'm like, no, we don't need anything else. And then they were so insistent they gave us a card for a free meal for another time. And I don't know if we'll ever use it or not. It's not really my bag, that kind of food. And the whole thing was just so sweet and reminded me of two important things, which I hope you get from this as well. One is, what can happen when we don't complain, when we see inside ourselves that tendency and stop it and do something else instead? Positive things, solutions, responsibility, and inside ourselves, just greater happiness. The other is when we counteract the heuristic known as negativity bias, like we are hardwired, reptilian brain hardwired to notice what's wrong or what's bad. When we counteract that with noting what's great, what's new, noting and actually speaking about what was awesome, complimenting, awesome things happen. And by the way, one of the reasons that we tend to complain with each other is to get connection. It's a socially acceptable way of complaining. Like, imagine standing waiting for the bus. Hot today, right? Such a normal conversation, way to get connected. So a great alternative, last tidbit I'll toss you for now, is compliment. So, we're sitting there, it's kind of hot, we look over at the person next to us, we have an impulse to get connected. That's human nature, we are social beings. And then to say, hey, I like your shoes. Hey, I like your sun visor. Whatever it is. If, real, not just make it up, but, find something we like. We always can do that. And that instantly makes connection and creates a whole different connection, a whole different vibe than when we connect by complaint. All right. I hope that's useful. I hope that's interesting. Again, please fire away with any questions or comments. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being interested in creating your vibrant life. I'm Daniel Aaron. I'm at your service, and I'll see you later.